All right, guys, this is going to be a completely different video. First time I'm going to do a reaction video. I was literally about to go for a run. It's Sunday morning, 9 a.m. I've already gotten some stuff done this morning. We do like ciclovia here in Colombia. So it's basically closed down the streets. You can go for runs, whatever you want. And put it on YouTube on my phone and literally came across this video real quick. I put it at 2x speed. And some of the stuff he was saying I thought might be relevant to basically anyone who feels like over 40 is too old to date. And I think this is gonna help kind of share my thoughts as far as what I would tell this guy to maybe help him out. So you can see here he has almost 190K views. Timothy Ward seems like a really genuine, good guy. Let's just listen to what he has to say. This is going to be completely off the riff, and I'll pause when appropriate. We'll put it at 2x speed just to speed things. I want to have to speed things up. Let's go.
The comment sections are always amazing on a dating video. But specifically, we're going to be talking about dating in your... What's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Tim, back with another video, and today we have a very interesting topic. Today we're going to be talking about dating, which is always a fun topic. The comment sections are always amazing on a dating video. But specifically, we're going to be talking about dating in your middle ages, like post-40, your 40s and 50s. I've just been seeing, not only in real life, but also on the internet, more and more people in that age group, which is my age group, just saying they're done. More and more people just saying, hey, I'm 47 and I don't think I'm ever going to date again. I'm 55 and I think I'm done. Just seeing a lot of people, maybe they came out of divorces a few years ago, they tried the dating thing, just couldn't find anybody, couldn't get anything, long lasting, anything real, and they're done. Or they're just people who, they've excuse me, been out on the market for a while and just tired of the dating scene, just over it, or people who just have come to realize, and I think I might be heading down this path, which is why I wanted to do this video, but I think people who are just realizing that maybe once you hit a certain age, you're just like set in your ways, especially if you haven't dated in a while. It's been almost a decade since I was in like a serious relationship. So like
a decade since this guy's been in a relationship. This is not a bad looking guy. Right? Seems like he's in shape. Let's keep listening.
I think I'm just very set in my ways. You know what I mean? Like, it would be very hard for someone at this age. I'm 45 now. It would be
very hard for someone at 45 to date. This guy is in his prime. Like in Latin America, women in their early 20s prefer guys who are in their 30s or even 40s. And I know this because, first off, I've dated a lot of women. And I ask a lot of questions. Okay, I'm very curious. And I'm always asking every woman, like, what is the oldest guy you would actually date, right? And I've dated women early 20s, like 21. I've dated women in their 30s. Shit, I've seen women in their 40s too, right? I don't discriminate. But women in their early 20s, and not all of them, of course, but a good majority of them will love to date a guy who's probably mid to late 30s is their ideal, because that man is mature. He's usually much more financially well off than anyone she could get in their 20s, right? Less drama, more emotionally stable, knows what he wants, more set in his ways. This guy's saying it like it's a bad thing. Being set in your ways is a good thing. It means that you actually know who you are, you know what you want, and you're actually living according to your values. That kind of stuff is hot to women. So this guy's saying it like it's a bad thing. Let's keep listening.
Hard for like someone to come into my life and like acclimate to like how I live my life. I kind of live a different life.
Acclimate to how you live your life. I'll come back to
lifestyle. That makes it harder. But just in general, it's like, I don't know. I felt like when I was younger, I was willing to make that sacrifice. Like when you're in your 20s and your 30s, it's all about meeting somebody, finding love, a family for a lot of people. As I'm getting older, it just feels like, do I even want to make that sacrifice?
What? So this guy is saying that he needs to sacrifice his lifestyle, right, to acclimate to another woman's, basically. Let me replay that. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Like acclimate to like how I live my life. I kind of live a different lifestyle. That makes it harder. But just in general, it's like, I don't know. I felt like when I was younger, I was willing to make that sacrifice. Like when you're in your 20s and your 30s, it's all about meeting somebody, finding love, a family for a lot of people. As I'm getting older, it just feels like, do I even want to make that sacrifice?
So I think what he's saying is he thinks he has to sacrifice his own lifestyle and his own ways to attract a woman that he likes, which is the complete opposite. What you should do as a man is actually define the ideal lifestyle that you want, that's true for you, which most men never do. I mean, even I asked some of my friends, like, they never sat down and actually like wrote down what they want out of life and like how they want their ideal life to look like, because they probably don't think it's possible. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. When you are set in your ways and it's done consciously, it's done intentionally, right? A woman is going to find that attractive. What she wants to do is fit into that, right? Think of yourself as a what's a good analogy here? Like a lighthouse, right? A lighthouse is never going to move, right? A lighthouse is going to stay. Better analogy. Let's think of like a train, right? A train is set in its ways. It's going to go this direction, right? Women are looking to hop on board the ideal train, right? They're looking to hop on board trains, right? So hopefully that's a good analogy. But what this guy's thinking is that he has to stop. Like his train's going this way, and he has to adjust his train in order to attract women, which is the complete opposite. All right, let's keep going.
Do I want to switch up being able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it? For
Brother?
what? I mean, don't get me wrong. Love is a beautiful thing. True love is an amazing thing. And I know that there are aspects of this life I'll never get to experience alone. But I think the older I get, the more at peace I am with that. There was a time when I was younger, I wasn't at peace with it. It's like, oh, you gotta find somebody. You gotta be with somebody. You know, you need to be in love. Now that I'm in my mid-40s, I'm kind of like, do I? Do I want to give up the freedom to travel wherever I want, go wherever I want?
Jeez. This guy thinks he has to give up the freedom to travel wherever he wants to go. It's the opposite, man. The more you travel, the more you live the life that you live, which this guy seems like he travels, which is awesome. Like me too, man. I love to travel. I'm never in one country all year round. I was in Paraguay 8 months, and now I'm in Colombia, which I've been here for a couple months. And I'm probably gonna split my time between those two countries and add in maybe another place. So I'm always, women find that hot, right? So again, I would love to have a conversation with this guy.
Do I want to give that up?
No! Why would you give that up? That's a good thing. You should live that type of a life that's true for you, that's exciting for you, and women are going to want to join you, right? Even when you're away from another country, like the girls that I speak in Paraguay, for instance, they're still hitting me up, right? They're seeing my stories on it. There's strategies to this to keep in touch with girls that you talked to in the past. But they're waiting. They're going to be waiting for me when I get back, right? And then the same thing in Colombia. The women that I see here when I'm in Paraguay or in the States, they're going to be watching my stories and wanting to, see how I'm doing and stuff like that, and waiting for me when I get back. So this guy's mindset's just off, man.
And I'm wondering if more and more people in this age group aren't coming to that realization. I'm wondering if more of us just are like, I'm good now, and I'd be curious for people who might be a generation above me, people in their 60s. Was this a thing 20 years ago for them, or is this a new phenomenon? Like, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of things happening that are a byproduct of new technologies we have and just the way the world is changing. And I think sometimes it takes, 10, 15 years to see the results. And I'm wondering if some of the things that happened in the 90s or early 2000s, we're seeing the byproduct of it now. But it just seems like more and more people aren't worried about it, especially once they hit middle age. They're just not worried about it. I mean, maybe it's a tough time to meet people. Maybe it's always been this way, but I feel like it's a tough age to meet people.
Jesus, it is not a tough age to meet people when you're 45 years old. 45 years old is prime man. I think 37, which I'm 37 right now, is probably, it's a really good place to be. 37 is really good because you still look young, right? Girls still think I'm like in my 20s, all right? If you keep yourself in shape, if you do the right things, right? Which I won't get into in this video, but and man in his 40s, like 45-year-old me is gonna kick my ass today, right? In terms of maturity, in terms of financial, in terms of game with women, right? 45-year-old me is going to be a better version of 37-year-old me because I'm going to continue keeping myself in shape. I just told you I'm going for a run on a Sunday morning, right? I'm still going to look like I'm in my 30s, and you should too. You don't have to look like you're much younger than your age, but you should look your best no matter what age you are. All I'm saying is that 45 is still prime years. And as a man, as long as you do the right things, your peak is going to last decades, All right, your 40s and 50s even should be really good years for you to feel attractive. And we're talking in the aspect of dating here and women. So this guy's talking like it's over for him at 45.
Because I know for me, like, where do I go to meet women in their 40s?
He thinks he has to meet women in their 40s that are going to like him. He doesn't think that women in their 30s or 20s. Again, women in Latin America, well, Latin America is a different culture than America. But this guy travels, so I'm surprised to hear this. I know he's probably in the States right now. He's probably talking about Western culture. But once you change cultures, it does change a lot, all right? Still, I still think a man in his 40s in the States can still crush it if he does the right things, if he doesn't have this type of a mindset, but it's a lot easier in Latin America, where, like I said, women in their 20s, let's say early 20s, prefer a guy in their mid to late 30s. I'd say women in their late 20s, they're okay with dating a guy in their early 40s, right? They see that as like a prime option for them too. Women in their 30s, like, they salivate over men in their 40s, even in their 50s, right? They're very content with dating men who are, again, well off, mature. Basically, you have to become your best version of you. But even in your 50s, if you work on yourself, and by the way, I'm not saying you should work on yourself and do this for women. You should do this for you, for your own inner peace, inner confidence, right? For your own self, you should do this. But it's going to naturally attract women too. All right. This guy who's in his mid 40s should not be attracting women in their 40s. He could if that's really what he wants, but he can easily attract women in their 30s, easily, early 30s. If we would have a simple conversation.
You know, you're not hanging out the bars, you're not hanging out the clubs as much anymore.
You don't have to, I don't hang out at bars or clubs. It doesn't have to be night game or.
I feel like too, a lot of people in this age range, they got a lot of stuff going on. They don't have as much time to, like, you know, date. Maybe more than they would have had a few years ago. Maybe when the kids were still home or whatever. But still, like, it's an age where most people got stuff going on. So where do you go to meet women in their 40s? Excuse me. Where do you go to meet women in their 40s and 50s?
Grocery stores, cafes, online game. Most of what I do is just online, honestly. It doesn't have to be apps, could be Instagram. Some of this might have to take some work for him. If I would talk to this guy, you know, he'd probably have to switch some of his game to online. I like online mostly as far as we're talking about bringing women in because it's more time efficient, right? I don't have to be at nightclubs, which I don't really want to be drinking and, you know, and affecting my sleep and stuff like that. You know, I'm talking like during the week. I don't mind going out on the weekends, but the way he's speaking is like, where can I find these women? There's so many ways.
Yeah, you can try the apps, and I've tried the apps, but I don't know. The apps, it just feels like a meat market, bro. I don't like the idea of swiping left on people. It seems very judgy on the apps. I'm like, no. I find myself, like, critiquing people and, like, laughing at people and, like, noticing people's flaws. You know what I mean? And that's not me. I would never do that in real life. I never do that in real life. But on the apps, I do it. And I'm like, I don't like this. It just seems...
What I would recommend is just close your eyes and just swipe. That way you don't have to worry about that. Who cares? This guy has some mindset issues. I'll just leave it at that.
Very meat marketing. No. You know, I mean, honestly, and I think a lot of men can attest to this. You know, it is a looks thing on some level. So I'm not one of those guys who just does great on the apps. It's funny though, different cities I do better.
With some simple photos enhanced, there's a lot of different ways you can have much better photos. So I'll just leave it at that.
You know, some cities I go and I get a ton of matches, others I get none. But even then,
that's a big thing too. What he just said, it depends on the city, right? It has a lot to do with which city you're in. Some cities are better, right? So once you are remote, this guy's remote. This guy can travel anywhere in the world. If dating's important to him, like, find a city where he'll have better success. That is one variable that is important.
Then it's that whole, you know, most women do better than an average woman on the app gets more matches than the average man. So even then, whenever I am talking with women, I feel like
we finally agreed on something.
They've got way more options than I've got. You know what I mean? So a lot of them, you can tell they're talking to like 5 other guys at the same time. And like, I'm big on like energy and stuff. And like, I can kind of tell when, you know, someone's chatting with me or talking with me or messaging with me and they're really into it, or they're just kind of, you know, like if it doesn't seem real, I unmatch. And what usually happens is I get on the apps for about a week and then I get disgusted, I get off. So I'm not downing the apps, they just don't seem to work for me. So I'm like, you got the apps, people will say like go to the grocery store, which seems creepy. You know, any place that people are like, oh, go and look for one. It just seems creepy, bro.
You shouldn't go and look for women, I think. You should just go about your day. You know, sometimes you got to go to the grocery store, you know, pick up some eggs, pick up some water, some whatever you need. And if you see something you like, maybe you know, you don't have to either. Like, I'm not a big day game person, right? But he's saying it like it's creepy, which I disagree with. You're not going there to meet women. You're going about your day. And if you see someone who you like or who maybe makes eye contact with you, then there's nothing wrong with striking up a conversation.
I'm not going to the library, creeping around the stacks, you know what I mean? Over there by I was going to say card catalog, but they don't do that anymore. I don't even know what's in the library anymore. I guess the computer. I don't know. It's just, where do you go to meet women at this age? And then a lot of people at this age have been through, you know, 1 marriage, 2 marriages. I know for me, I've never been married. So if you've been divorced or divorced twice, you know, or if you've got like 3 kids, you know what I mean? Like, for me, I know there's just a lot. I don't have a lot in common with women my age, just because I'm child free, never been married. You know, sometimes I run across women who are a little jaded from the past. You know, and I'm sure I've said many times I got emotional walls built up from my past. So, you know, when you're younger, it seems like, you know, you believe in love and you're open to so much. We get this age, we kind of done seen some stuff. You know what I mean? And I think it makes it harder to connect because you're just like, nah, you remind me of my ex, or I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot more reason not to connect than when you're younger and you just believe it.
Nah, man, I feel like the more experience you have with women, the better you are. 37-year-old me now kicks my 27-year-old ass when it comes to this context, right? Because of the experience that I have. So this guy's using his past experience as like a negative thing. You should see it as a positive thing, man. You should take the good of what you learned from previous relationships and bring that into your new relationships. Leave the bad behind. You've refined, right? You're iterating as far as what you like and don't like when it comes to this topic.
So much. You know, I think when you get this age, maybe you've just stopped believing. You know, and I do believe in true love, and I do think it is possible. I just don't know if it's as probable, you know, as I get older.
Oh my God. Again, if you're in your, and I don't want to feel like I'm like talking, I don't know. He seems like a really nice guy, right? Really genuine. He's probably, you know, he's probably a good guy. But 40s is a great age to be in, man. I'm looking forward to my 40s. All right, I'm single, just like this guy. Never been married, no children. Want a family someday. I'm probably gonna wait until my 40s, to be honest with you. I think the older you are as a dad, the better dad you are, and I'll probably do a different video on that. But I'm looking forward to my 40s. This guy's like dreading his 40s. No, like I said, I'm gonna be a better version of myself in my 40s. I'm gonna be like prime Alex. So, man, I just want guys like this to see that 40s is still young. Your peak should last decades.
And I'm just honestly like, I know for me, I'm like, if I could just find a couple more situationships, you know, like I'm cool meeting somebody, we hang out for a month, and
well, that's easy.
What, you know what I mean? Like I don't. There's no. For me, this ideal that I have to find true, undying love isn't as important to me anymore. If it happened, that'd be great. You know, I'd love to meet somebody I could die with.
This concept of dying with a woman, we're all gonna die alone, right? I don't know what it'd be like. What, you're gonna die in the same bed, like in that movie, The Notebook, with a woman? Is that how you want to die? Like, I don't know. As far as this whole true love thing, I don't think there's like this one true love, this one true woman that's out there just for me. I think there's a whole lot of women, you know, billions, over 1 billion women on this planet. If we're talking just Latin America, I don't know, what, like 500 million women, something like that. There are a lot of options, man. You know, it's just a matter of me, like he said, being set in your ways, you defining the ideal life that you want to live, you living according to your values with integrity, with intention, and just seeing which girls rise to the top, let the cream rise to the top, who wants to fit into your life, you know. And then maybe you choose one woman who you, if that's what you want. If you want monogamy, just choose the best option that you like, who also really likes you and wants to be a part of your life. You know, that's not that difficult.
But like, it's not that big a deal anymore, and that seems to be what I'm hearing from a lot of people, who they may still casually date, they may, you know, go out.
I think this guy's coping. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't really need to. I think we're sexual creatures, okay? Both men and women. So I think men who think this way are coping because they're not seeing success because of their mindset. It starts up here.
Every now and then and meet people, but it's just this idea of like meeting someone. Excuse me. I'm still getting over this cold. I apologize.
Bless you.
Meeting someone and it being happily ever after. It just seems like once you hit, 43.
This guy's probably watched a lot of like Disney movies or I don't know, rom-coms, like living happily ever after. I don't know. I'll try to stop pausing to not.
That just ain't what it used to be. It's just, I don't know. It may be the world in general. I think people just aren't. So many numbers are down as far as like human connection and relationships around the world. All over the world, people aren't getting married as much. People aren't having kids as much.
Okay, I disagree there. United States, people aren't getting married as much because of the laws that don't favor men and that only favor women, and that basically crush a man, not just financially, but also in different ways, right? If he were to get a divorce in the States. He said not having children, probably true in the States because of cost of living and inflation and rising taxes. It's tougher to support a family in the United States. But when you're talking about regions like Latin America, people are having babies here. So that's not right. That's not true.
I think just in general, we're just not doing those type of things on the levels we used to. So I guess it makes sense that you get to a certain age and you're just like, I think we can all admit that, especially like here in the West, we're in this weird situation where, and I think this affects all age groups, but like our values have kind of changed. But when it comes to dating, we act like we want to hold on to like the old values, I don't know. Gender roles are changing, so that changes things up too. Gender itself is changing. It's just there's just so many things that I think you have traditional thinkers, and then you have people who are whose thought pattern who think along the lines of like some of the new stuff coming out. I spend a lot of time around people in their 20s, things like that. So a lot of the new ideas appeal to me, and I understand.
Okay, I think that's making sense now, where he gets his beliefs from. So he agrees more with the new way, as far as, with the woke stuff. He agrees more with that, versus the traditional stuff. So that makes sense.
Understand, where the kids are coming from, and I do think it is time for some changes along some of those lines. But once again, if you meet someone who still has the older traditional values, it can be kind of, so I think that's an area where a lot of people are butting heads. Is just,
if you want to meet someone with more traditional values, you can find that more so in Latin America than the West.
You might be looking for a certain type of mate, and they may not be on that type of time no more. And I don't think anybody's.
And I agree. So this guy's obviously in the West. He's probably in the United States or Canada. So it is a different culture. It's completely different, where I think the dating is not favorable for men as it is in other cultures, right?
Right or anyone's wrong. It's just we're going through a very transitory period, a period with a lot of change, and I just feel like relationships and dating and marriage and all that is suffering because of it, because there is so much change going on.
Agreed.
And I just think more and more people are just done. It's like, why? Because you do, like, every time you meet somebody and it doesn't work out, there's some pain involved. You know what I mean? It kind of hurts. Like you get excited, you get hopeful, then it's no. Like even if you meet somebody and it's temporary, like there's that feeling of loss when it finally does end. You enjoy hanging out with that person, and then it's over. So like,
again, I think that's weak mindset, man. Like, you should learn and grow from each relationship, right? Each relationship that I've been in has been a blessing, and I've learned a lot about myself, about what I like, about what I don't like, and it leads me to be a better version for the next relationship, right? So, just a weak mindset, man.
Like, after so long and getting your hopes up so many times and having them dashed to the ground. Or even if they were just like, dashed to the ground, but it just didn't work. Even if it's somebody you meet for a couple nights and you're talking on the phone, and then like a red.
And again, I'm not attacking this guy. Like I said, he seems like a really good guy. But what I am attacking is his thought process. I'm attacking his mindset, right? Because this guy could literally have the ideal dating life that he wants if he would have just changed his thinking around this, and have the right mindset around it. He's fine. He's 45. He doesn't look like he's right, like in his 50s. He doesn't look like he's in his 30s. But this guy can, if this is what he wants, which it sounds like he's saying that he's coping and doesn't want it anymore because he just hasn't had success. Well, if you want success, my friend, just change your mindset, right? And that's kind of what I'm doing in this video, just sharing different views. And maybe you might resonate with them, maybe you don't. But that's what I'm creating this video for. See who does, see who doesn't.
Flags come up. You're just like, hey, there's another one. it's easy to just get to the point where you're just like, no, I'm done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't even want to call it giving up, but I don't think there's anything wrong with exercising your right to be single.
There is nothing wrong with living a life that's according to what you want and what you value with intention, right? But I think this guy's coping. I think this guy doesn't want that life. He's saying that there's nothing wrong with giving up or settling because I haven't had success in the past. And I don't agree with that.
Unless the universe or God just throws the perfect person your way, I don't think
there's no such thing as a perfect person.
There's anything wrong with just doing you. You know, learning to...
You should always do you.
Love yourself. You know, learning to take full advantage of your freedoms. You know, double down on your hobbies, your passions.
Absolutely.
Doing whatever you want on the weekends because can't nobody tell you where you need to go, what you need to do.
Agree there, 100%.
You know, just having time to yourself. A lot of times I think we're, especially people who've been married before, had kids, things like that, might have never had that before. And I think it might feel scary at first.
So I think he's saying that he has to give up all that to have a woman, which is that's not true. You should just balance it, right? You should have the ideal life that you're living, that you want, and then a woman to fit into that, you know? Maybe you see her once a week, maybe you see her twice a week. You decide, but it's on your terms.
But it's actually pretty cool to just take time to yourself and get to know yourself and like hang out with yourself and watch the shows you want to watch and do what you want, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of cool. And I think if we normalize that, this idea of like, if no one, you know, this whole idea of like, you're nobody if nobody loves you is stupid. If we can get rid of that type of belief and just realize that like, sometimes you got a mate, sometimes you don't. Both are fine. You know, if you're done just being out there in them streets and desperately seeking someone to be with and all the drama that comes with that, you can just say, no, I'm done. And it's
you should never be desperately seeking someone. I'll just say that.
Fine. You know, some people are blessed with a good mate. Some people aren't. Some people...
Yeah, this guy's acting like... Okay. I think the problem here is he's saying some people just get lucky, right? You have to be lucky. God has to put this person into your life. It's like he's not taking responsibility at the end of the day, all right? For his own actions. Like, this is his reality, and he created that reality with his own, and it starts with your thinking. Again, this is coming from his thinking, which is creating the actions that he's been taking, which has created the results that he now has, which is no woman life, right? So, and now he's saying that, oh, it's luck. So he's not in reality. He's not rooted in cause and effect. He's rooted in outside reality.
Have a bad mate, you know what I mean? So like, it's just different manners of living. You know, so if you're middle-aged, you've been struggling to meet somebody, my 2 cents in this issue is stop looking.
Oh, jeez.
You know, you don't have to give up hope. You don't have to give up belief, but like that desperate search, just let that go, bro. You know, delete the apps. You know, just do you. Do the things you enjoy doing. And maybe in the doing of that, you'll stumble across the person you're meant to be with. But if you don't
stumble across,
oh, that's fine too. Just enjoy life, live life. Like,
so take no action, give up, and then maybe the right woman or a woman will stumble across, and then you'll live happily ever after. This is this guy's mindset.
The world's changing. Things are different. Like it's a different world, and we don't have to live based on the views.
All right, I've heard enough. So, guys, I'm about to go for a run. If you're a man if you're over 35, if you're in your late 30s or mid 30s or 40s or even 50s or even 60s, understand that your peak as a man should last decades. All right, 45 to me is prime man. 55 is still a great age to be a man. You can still attract women in their 30s, especially in Latin America, guys. This is normal. This is normal here, okay? And I just want to spread that message that you shouldn't feel like giving up or thinking like there's no hope or you know, just that type of mindset, that type of defeatist mindset. Yeah, man. 40s is still young. 50s is still prime. Women, understand this, women in their 20s in Latin America, they're having so many conversations. By the way, I'm probably going to do some interviews with women in the future on this channel. But they prefer an older guy, okay? Not all women, but a good majority of women prefer an older guy that's probably 10 to 15 years older. All right, so a woman in her 30s is going to love a man in his 40s and also be open to a man in his 50s. A woman in her 20s, same thing with a man in his 30s and early 40s, right? By the way, if you want to read the comment that I left for this guy and for anyone else who watched this video, here it is, just before I go. So I'm 37, and honestly, a man in his 40s is in his prime. In Latin America, I regularly see women in their early 20s drawn to confident, established men who are between 35 to 45. Women in their 30s or 40s, they go for guys in their 50s or 60s if they stayed in shape. 40s is young, 50s still powerful, and never change your lifestyle for a woman. The right women will adjust to your life. Women are a beautiful addition to a man's mission, not the mission itself. Time to shift the mindset. There's so much possibility ahead. So let me know if that resonates with you. Agree, disagree. We'll see. Take care.